Hey, beautiful friends. This is Sarah Blumenfeld, host of Networking Done Different, an outreach of an invitation to more.com. Today, I'm pleased to be joined by Heather Murphy. She is the founder and psychotherapist at The Feelings Healers, as well as her colleague, Paige Helms. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
How are you today?
We're doing okay. I just wanted to give a plug for Paige's practice. It's called Novel Changes Therapy.
Okay, perfect. So let's start with you, Heather. Tell us how you got into this and a little bit about the Feelings Healers.
I kind of fell into it. Didn't actually plan to ever have a group practice, but I was in solo private practice for a while, and I specialize in treating eating disorders. And so I was getting overwhelmed by all of the people that were coming to me from our area for eating disorders. And that's when the idea of, okay, I need to bring somebody on so I have somebody to refer to came from. And we've grown into a very large practice since then. So the group practice, the Feelings Healers, we officially opened our doors January 2nd, 2020. We have a beautiful 2,000 square foot space with a really diverse team of therapists now. We also serve as just kind of a collective workspace for other therapists who are in their own private practices. And that's what Paige is. She's, like I said, she's got her own private practice. We consider her one of our affiliate therapists.
Yes.
And she gets to hang out with us now, which is really nice.
Right? How cool is that?
That's the best part for sure.
All right, Paige, tell us a little about your practice.
Sure. So I'm relatively new in terms of just working in my own private practice. I have a lot of experience in different types of agency work, different settings, residential, community mental health, even forensics. And so I was working in a more collective group practice a while back, and it just was not a good fit for me. And I had kind of reached out to just the general community about starting a consultation group, which is, a space for therapists to get with other therapists and talk about, challenges they may be facing, any kind of ideas they may have for, clients that people feel stuck with, things like that. And so Heather answered my call. She said, I have this space. So we started doing a consultation group, and having met Heather, I was like, oh, I could see this person being a friend. And so I kind of pulled her aside and was like, hey, I'm not particularly feeling fulfilled where I am. And she was like, you could do it. So I started my own private practice. And then I actually started in January of this year, but it's been going really, really well. I've been excited about it.
One thing I love about you all, and for our listeners, I came and visited your office when you had an open house and got to meet all of the therapists. And I just love that there's so much cooperation and no sense of like competition or, this is my client or whatever. You work together to serve the clients. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's really a part of that abundance mindset. As therapists, as humans, we really don't have to compete with anybody because there's enough people with enough problems to go around for all of us. And really having that collaborative approach, it tends to work best for clients. It tends to work best for therapists. And you don't have to do this work alone. It can be really isolating, and it just feels good to have a group of people around you that are of the same mindset.
Yeah. I totally agree. Definitely one of my favorite parts about kind of subleasing from Heather and, setting up my practice here is I have all of the independence of an independent practitioner, but then I do have the colleagues and the camaraderie of, just being around other people. And everybody in the Feelings Healers practice has, a similar mindset in terms of like approach to therapy, I think, but everybody kind of specializes in different presentations or different presenting concerns, things that clients may need to work with. And so it is a very easy kind of avenue for me to refer people that maybe I wouldn't work very well with in terms of like what they're needing, and, you know, feel really confident about who I'm referring to.
Yeah. And I love that as well, that it's like, okay, I don't have to serve everybody who comes to me. I can say, this is my area of expertise. I can best serve these people. And my colleague over here can best serve these people with these issues, right?
Exactly. My approach with the therapist on my team is not to try to do everything well, but to really hone in on, you know, what your specialties are, what you really geek out on in terms of who you're working with and what you're working with, and do that really well, you know, and everything else, you know, find people who do those things really well and establish that collaborative relationship.
Yeah, and that works out best for everyone, right? The clients included, they get the best care.
Exactly. And that's really the first priority, is making sure that our clients are taken care of. Like, I don't like to work with couples. I haven't done it in many years. And for a couple to come to me, it would really be a disservice to them for me to work with them. But I have plenty of other therapists in the office who really love working with couples. So I send them to them.
Let's go a little bit into the other therapists in your office and what each kind of specializes in.
Yeah, so I've kind of lost track of how many we have. Flor was the first therapist that I brought on. She's bilingual, which is really nice. It's hard to find bilingual therapists. She works a lot with trauma, domestic violence. She's really good with teenagers and men as well. Quintera, she was my second one. She does really well. So she works with children. She's the only therapist in our office that works with children, does really well with adolescent girls. She does a lot of a therapy called dialectical behavioral therapy, which is really skills based. And so that really helps her work with people who need help with emotion regulation or interpersonal effectiveness. I have Cynthia, who is also bilingual. She's my only virtual therapist. And unfortunately, she's not accepting clients at this point, but she also specializes in trauma. Kelly is, we have an internship program. She started out as my first intern, and now she's graduated. She's got a license, and she's really the glue that holds the feelings healers together. There's so many hats, but she, as a counselor, is a huge advocate for the LGBTQ plus community. She is one that really loves working with couples. She has also done some work with religious trauma, and she's just finishing up her training in a type of therapy called EMDR. Who is next? Tammy. Tammy is another one of, so after we graduate, we get a provisional license and we have to work under a supervisor for a while. So I'm a supervisor. Tammy's one of my associates. She does a lot with creative expression. Again, a huge advocate of the queer community. She is Asian, so she works with a lot of Asian clients. And she does a lot with expressive arts, being able to incorporate expressive arts as another avenue for healing.
She's also EMDR trained.
Yeah, she's EMDR trained. Jacina is fully licensed. She has limited availability because she works on the weekends here. She's a veteran, so she works with a lot of other veterans and military people and their families. She works with couples and teenagers as well. Everybody loves Jacina. She's hard to get in with because everybody loves her. Who else do I have? I have Leah and Raven, who are my two interns right now. Raven is actually getting ready to graduate, and she'll be continuing on as a therapist. Works really well with people of color, young adults, teenagers. highly perfectionistic, high achieving kind of folks. Leah is actually, she is an ER nurse and a nurse practitioner, and she is finishing up her graduate degree in counseling at the end of this summer. And so she works with a lot of medical professionals. She's really passionate about wellness, and with a lot of first responders. She's got a lot, she has a family of first responders, so she does really well with those folks too. Did I leave anybody out?
No, I don't think anybody.
Yeah.
Wow, that's what a gold mine you have there. Oh my
I
goodness.
do. Yeah, I feel very fortunate to have been able to kind of gather this really awesome group of folks, and we do all get along, which is nice as well for an office full of women.
Right? Imagine that. Who ever heard of such a thing?
Yes.
You mentioned that you're a supervisor as well. What prompted you to take on that responsibility?
Yeah, so what I do a lot of these days is to, serve as a gateway or a gatekeeper for the counseling profession. And that's really what a supervisor does. So I decided to become a supervisor because honestly, I got tired of hearing stories about therapists who weren't really that good. And I wanted to be able to do what I could to, prevent that. I also really wanted to give therapists an opportunity to learn about the business side of therapy. It's
Yeah.
not something that we get training in graduate school. We just kind of stumble our way through it. I mean, yeah, we wing it.
There you go. God bless.
And so that was a big part of why I wanted to become a supervisor as well. And again, recognizing that I can't do everything, but somebody else can do the things that I don't either.
Yeah. So Paige, tell us a little more about, give us an example of someone that you worked with no names, of course, but something that you help people work through.
Yeah, so I think as a therapist, you go into this profession with expectations around who you're going to work with and what your kind of population of choice is. And so for me, going into even grad school, my goal was teenagers. I love working with teenagers. And so I have found, 7 years into my career at this point that was accurate. I do love working with teenagers. However, I think as you expand your education and you expand your experience, you kind of come to a place where whether you seek it out or not, you kind of become a beacon for certain groups of people, and then they seek you out.
Yeah.
So although teenagers is definitely a primary source of who I work with, there's a couple other areas that I find just kind of seek me out. And so one of those areas is people who are neurodiverse, so people that are autistic or have ADHD, and they're kind of trying to navigate a world that they don't quite fit into. I take a very strengths-based approach there. I do not identify with the kind of the autism puzzle piece of, just trying to, fit everything. I do much more of genuine, authentic acceptance and figuring out how to adapt to a world that doesn't quite fit you.
Yeah.
And so that's one area. I also am a very strong advocate for the LGBTQIA plus rainbow umbrella. And I actually find that oftentimes people who are neurodivergent tend to also fall into that category as well. So that's a big crossover. I also work a lot with high acuity. And so that's going to be people who have a history of being hospitalized or having some safety issues, you know, previous suicide attempts, self-harm, things like that, that are currently kind of out in the community trying to live their lives, and they want to stay out of higher levels of care. So when you asked to kind of give an example of maybe a client that I work with, you know, now, I have a couple where, you know, I see them multiple times a week, and frequently one of the sessions may be focused on skills building. I'm also DBT certified, and I have
What does that mean?
Huh?
What does that mean?
DBT is the
Dialectical behavior therapy.
Okay.
So I'm certified in that. I also have extended training in autism spectrum. But oftentimes with the high acuity people that I see, one of our sessions will be very skills based, very like, this is what we're learning, this is what we're doing. And then the other session of the week will be very process based. And so that's kind of how I, you know, navigate that population.
So you mentioned like twice a week. Is that a common interval for people to be seen?
Not frequently. And with the twice a week, you know, you really want to only do it as long as it's clinically appropriate. Otherwise, you're kind of bordering on providing too much therapy, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So in that particular population that I work with, twice a week is appropriate because we're kind of dealing with some persistent chronic safety issues.
Okay.
But
And
once,
you're teaching two different things, it sounded like, when you said one session was this kind of thing and one session was that kind of thing.
I mean, give or take. I think
Yeah,
every session is what they need that day.
Sure,
But I try
sure.
very hard to blend skills with process, because the goal is for them to be able to do once a week and then bi-weekly and then continue to move forward. You know, the goal is not to be in intensive therapy forever.
Sure, sure. Yeah. Very cool. Heather, how do people know that they should go see a therapist? What are some signs that they are experiencing? Should we just say everyone?
Yes, we think everyone should go to therapy, which honestly, we have a wide spectrum of clients, right? Like I'm like Paige, I like a good challenge. So I have clients that are really complex with multiple diagnoses, and thankfully they know that they should be in therapy. A lot of my other clients are just folks who find themselves needing to have somebody who's a soundboard, you know. There's so much of like normal, natural parts of life that can be really difficult to navigate on your own. And even if you know what to do, like I said, it's just nice to have that person who's a soundboard, who you're not going to see in your normal everyday life, who's not going to judge you, who's not a family member or a friend or a partner.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of it does come down to functioning, you know, not even just are you getting the things done, but with what kind of quality are you getting the things done? How are you getting the things done? Are you white knuckling it? Do you feel like you're just kind of surviving each day? Do you want a more meaningful life instead of just kind of going through the motions of it? And then, I mean, as far as the dysfunction goes, if you're not able to keep up with your activities of daily living, if the dysfunction is, you know, severely affecting your finances, if it's putting a big burden on your relationships, and if you hate yourself, if you hate yourself and you want to make changes, that's really when, like, find a therapist that works for you. And that's the other thing too that makes therapy difficult, is you have to find one where y'all are a good fit, where you can vibrate on the same frequency. And you're not going to get that necessarily with the first therapist you meet. You got to try on a few, like shoe shopping, you know. I go in and know I want a black pair of shoes, but I'm not going to pick up and buy the first pair that I find. I'm going to try on a few. is a little bit harder with therapy.
Well, but that's wonderful that you're giving people permission to say, just come and try it and see how it resonates with you. And no judgment if you and I are not a good fit, right? We've got some other folks you can try out. And I think that would give people a lot more comfort with stepping into this space.
Exactly. All of us offer free 15-minute consults. I mean, you can't really get therapy done in a consult, in a 15-minute consult, but it would be like trying on the pair of shoes and walking around the store with it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something that every therapist offers. We do here. And like you said, there's no pressure with it. At the end of the 15 minutes, if you decide you want to continue, great. If you decide this isn't for you, part of our practice with the feelings healers is we will help you find somebody who's a good fit. We take it very seriously that when people reach out to us, they're in a real vulnerable place, and we're not going to turn them away. We're going to help them get what they need.
Yeah. And both vulnerable and willing to have some change, right?
Yes. Right. And I do the same. I also will do consultations. I carry that even into like my intake sessions. So part of every intake session, the therapist goes through, boundaries, limits of confidentiality, kind of what to expect, how this works. And in that part of my intake sessions, I will kind of say, hey, finding the right therapist is kind of like being Cinderella, if it's not me, that's fine. Let me help you find someone that is.
Right.
And then towards the end of the intake session, I'll save the last few minutes or so and kind of say, okay, hey, how did you feel about today? Is this something that you think you want to continue, or is this something you think that will work for you? I want to give the people who work with me ample opportunity to, get a sense of who I am. I think Heather and I have something in common in that we're both not necessarily the typical therapist that people would kind of expect.
Right.
And so I do want to give people the opportunity to go, yeah, enthusiastically, yes, this is what I want to do. Or, let me think about it, or things like that.
Yeah, at the end of all of my first sessions, I do similar to what Paige does of, okay, how are you feeling about today? And how are you feeling about coming back? A concern that many of our clients express is they don't want to be in therapy forever and ever. And they often feel pressured at the end of a session when the therapist says, okay, so let's schedule our next appointment.
Right.
It really is as if there is no choice in that. And I mean, this is something that really everyone should have a choice in every part of the process. I mean, this is our clients' therapy. It's what they need. It's not what us as therapists, what we need.
Yeah, perfect. That's awesome. You do.
I'm also.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm also a very, very, very firm proponent of meeting people where they're at and harm reduction. So, somebody may come in and they may have a variety of things going on in their life. And in my mind, I might be like, okay, well, you probably need to tackle this and this and this kind of first. But that's not necessarily the way I actually operate with clients. Their goals are my goals.
Yeah.
And so I'm very, very mindful of meeting them where they're at and working on the things that they feel motivated to work on. And I notice that over time, as they start to feel better, they start to become more open to working on other things as well. But I don't take a full abstinence mindset. I don't take a black and white, all or nothing kind of mindset. I find this to be very much a process and a journey.
Yeah, for sure. So you have group sessions as well? And is that only for people who are already clients?
We've been trying to have group sessions.
Okay.
It is actually, so we're considered outpatient and like the lowest dose of therapy, right? When
Okay.
you get into the higher doses of therapy, there is a ton of group therapy. And it can be really powerful to have someone outside of an individual session where they can actually see themselves within a group of people, right? You know,
Mhm.
life isn't just one-on-one. We're
Right.
hardwired for connection, and we have to interact with
Yeah,
people
exactly.
whether we like it or not. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
for us,
Well,
it's
also
been
that feeling of not being alone, right? I mean, hey,
absolutely,
there's a whole bunch of other people that share this same concern.
Makes me think
absolutely.
of Yalom, universality.
Yeah, yes. Exactly. I mean, feeling like you're alone in your issues is
Mhm.
one of the main things that we have to help clients work through. And then when you get them in a group of people who have similar issues, it very much so normalizes it for them of,
Yeah.
okay, I'm not alone in
Mhm.
this, you know? And they end up forming connections and bonds that are unlike any other relationships that we have. It's very similar to the therapist client relationship where it's very unique and you don't really get it out in the real world. The same
Mhm.
thing is true of group therapy. You end up having these really unique connections that you don't usually experience out in the real world.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
So is there any like
So back to our groups. We have
back to do you do it or not?
yes, we do it. Now it's been a challenge to get people to actually come to them.
Okay.
One of the challenges is I don't think people really understand group therapy and how it works. There's just like therapists, there are a lot of myths and misconceptions about what things are supposed to be. And oftentimes they're just kind of going off what they've seen in the movies and stuff. And
Right.
group therapy is very different from that. And we have some group therapy where it's just like process focused. And then we have groups where it's more skills focused. So one of them that Paige and I, our brainchild right now that we want to do, it's called emotion focused family therapy. And it's a
Mm.
really great approach to anyone who is a loved one or a caregiver of people who are struggling with mental health issues. And so that's one that we're getting in the works.
We are I think we both have a really good like vision on what we want it to look like. I also think that, you know, sometimes we're just kind of like two people walking blind. Like, how are we gonna make, where's the light switch? How are we gonna make this work?
Yeah, how do we help as many people as we can? So a lot
Yeah.
of our ideas from group therapy come just from like, all right, what do our clients need?
Right.
Yeah,
Um,
sure. Sure.
So the emotion focused family therapy, the best way to describe it is helping caregivers learn therapy skills like basic therapy 101, because you know we work so frequently with teenagers and other people, you know, everybody has loved ones, but
Mhm.
essentially, you know, they don't want to be in therapy forever, and if we can help their caregivers get some of the therapy skills
Oh,
to
wow.
relate better, to provide better support, that can help people make progress and move forward in their healing journey quicker.
Oh, yeah, that's amazing because then, I mean, you can only be in therapy so many hours a week and then you're at home with this other person. And if you know better how to interact with them, wow, that could really make
it's
a difference.
really it's working on the system rather than the individual.
Mhm.
And we do the EFFT, it teaches the things that us therapists do in session that we're trying to get our clients to do out of session. And a lot of loved ones are, you know, they're well intended. They really do want to help. They're just clueless about what to
Sure,
do. Most people
sure.
are clueless about what to do. And so they're usually really receptive to having therapists say, okay, this is what you do. This is what you do. This is what you do, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. So awesome.
One of the things that I love about this space is that it is full of people with ideas, and we very much so are a group that, okay, let's try things, see if it works. If it doesn't, okay, what can we take away from it?
Right.
We have groups that, people have to pay for. We also try to offer a lot of things that are just for free. And so Kelly, she's been trying to get story time going in the morning. Has a whole prior career in education. And so I think it's that part of her that comes out. She's also
Yeah.
been trying to organize socials for teenagers where they just come
Oh,
and hang out. They play games, we buy pizza, they just hang out. And again, it's just part of trying to create more of that community, more access to us, and just more support in general.
yeah. Wow, that's awesome. So how can people find out about how to get a hold of you, how to schedule a session, and so on?
Yeah. So for the feelings healers, the best thing is to go to our website, and it's thefeelingshealers.com, or our Instagram, our socials. We have Instagram and Facebook, and it's at the Feelings Healers.
Paige?
So for me, I'm on a couple of different directories. So like Psychology Today, Monarch, I think. And so people find me a lot through that. My website is just novelchangesTherapy.com. Since I am kind of solo, a lot of my referrals come from people that have already worked with me who kind of said, hey, my friend of a friend's cousin's nephew needs therapy. So yeah, people find me all kinds of ways.
Yeah,
Right.
word of mouth is actually our best referral source.
Sure, sure. Well, that's true in any business, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah. What else would you like to share as we wrap up?
I think it might be important to kind of talk about one other thing that has been kind of a brainchild between the two of us. I was going to say it's nice that I came in as my own individual practitioner and didn't necessarily try to join this practice, because we can kind of operate more as colleagues and less
Yeah.
as a kind of a power dynamic.
Employer-employee.
Right.
Yeah.
And so another kind of brainchild that we've had that we've really been focusing on is creating what we call the collective, and reaching out to other local small businesses that focus on full health and wellness. So for example, we've created partnerships with the Infinity Float Center, which is over in Webster by U of H Clear Lake. And they do flotation therapy, acupuncture, things like that. And then we also have a partnership that we're working on with Sundance Yoga. And the practitioners there have a variety of different kinds of classes. And they're also currently running classes under like a FemPower movement, I guess, for women specifically. There are a couple other kind of spaces that we're exploring, but ultimately the goal is to have people in the community that practice areas of health and wellness that as therapists, we can't do everything all the time. And so to have people that we know, that we've met, that we trust, to tell our clients like, hey, come talk to me, do therapy, and then maybe go do some yoga and meditate, and here's where you could go.
And then go float.
So that's definitely,
And then go float.
Yes. So that's definitely been something that we have been working on these past few months.
That's wonderful. And you're not the first wellness practice that I've talked to that has the exact same, like, this is what we want to do. We want to like group together, support each other, and greater support for our clients by saying, I have these tools, and then they have these tools, and they have these tools.
And the people that we've been connecting with, they're so receptive to,
Mhm.
the collective, and they're very much so of the same mindset. And, as a small business owner, I opened the Feelings Healers just 2.5 months before COVID shut the world down. And, it was through the COVID experience that a lot of us small business owners learned that we really do have to stick together. We really do have to help each other. Me as one small business, I only have so much power, I only have so much impact. But if we get 3 or 4 of them together, we can have, 4 times the impact.
Yeah, exactly. Exponential.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you both for being on the show. I really appreciate it and have enjoyed getting to know you. And y'all go check out their websites and see what they have to offer you.
Thank you, Sarah. This has really been a pleasure.
Awesome.
Yes, thank you so much.
My pleasure. And thank you all for listening today. So appreciate you. If you would like to be interviewed, please email me at networkingdonedifferent@gmail.com. Bye. See you later.